Just for a moment on a true crime case that continues even today to grab attention of millions of Americans more than 30 years after it happened. A new court petition is challenging the convictions of Lyle and Erik Menendez, who were found guilty of murdering their parents and scheduled and sentenced to life in prison without parole. These brothers were convicted of shooting and killing their parents, Jose and Kitty Menendez, in their Beverly Hill mansion in 1989. Lyle and Erik said that their father sexually abused them for years and their mother enabled the abuse, with the brothers saying that they feared for their lives. Prosecutors say they did it to get their parents' money, and it wasn't about sexual abuse. Well, now attorneys say that a letter written by Erik to his cousin shows that the abuse did, in fact, continue well into his teen years. And this comes amid some other allegations from a man named Roy Rossello, a former member of the boy band Menudo, who says he was raped in the 1980s by Jose Menendez, who worked as a record company executive at the time. Here to talk more about it, attorney and legal analyst Misty Marris. This is a very complicated case, and you have to pull back the layers in your memory to take you back to 1996, because this was a huge headline. Were the sexual abuse allegations not brought up in the trial all those years ago? Why are we just talking about this now?
Great question. And that's why we really have to go back, as you said, and look at what happened in that first trial. So many people don't remember that there was actually two trials. In the first trial, the result was a hung jury for both brothers. In that trial, evidence of the sexual abuse allegations were presented. Now, in the second trial, once there's a hung jury, everything happens again. Prosecutors bring the case back. Brand new jury, brand new evidence, brand new trial. In the second trial, much of the sexual abuse allegations and evidence relating to that were precluded. The jury never saw them. And so that's why these new pieces of evidence, the letter from Erik Menendez and Lyle Menendez's cousin, is really, really relevant, as well as these new allegations that came out in a documentary from a member of Menudo about abuse by their father when he was 13 or 14 years old. So all of that speaks to whether or not Jose Menendez, the father, had the propensity to abuse. And would a jury, hearing all of this now, look at this from a new prism, and perhaps that could be part of the defense and determine that they were acting. And Marni, this is the other complicated piece of this case. The argument is that this was imperfect self-defense. And what does that mean? Well, self-defense means there's an imminent threat. This means it's imperfect because they were feeling this constant threat of abuse throughout time, leading them to ultimately killing their parents. So it's a complicated legal theory. And without the abuse component going into the courtroom, there's really nothing to support it. So the defense attorneys are now arguing the jury should hear this again. And the jury should see this letter that's never been seen before and hear from other people who may have experienced abuse at the hands of Jose.
Misty, I'm still stuck on the fact that the defense wasn't able to include the sexual abuse allegations in that second trial. What precluded them from doing it, and did they appeal then after the jury's decision?
So there have been many, many appeals, and the appeals have not been successful. That's why this is what's called a writ of habeas corpus petition. It's a different avenue to seek a new trial than the appellate process. In the appeal system, it is really, really unlikely to get a conviction overturned when it is a jury conviction, meaning that the jurors made this determination but the judges don't really like to touch that. They like to defer to the jury. Now, these pieces of evidence, the Menudo, the individual from Menudo, as well as the written letter, which tends to corroborate testimony from their cousin, which was heard at the trials, by the way, but corroborates his testimony. It's no longer as much of a question of credibility of all of the witnesses, which is exactly what the jury is supposed to decide. Now, what defense is arguing, there is new evidence, and had this evidence been presented at that time, it could have been vastly different. And Marni, in those pre-trial discussions and those pretrial rulings about whether they're going to hear about, the jury is going to hear about the abuse, well, perhaps if this evidence had been there, the answer would have been yes. So it could have tipped the scale from an evidentiary perspective as well.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.